Hello, I'm Will. I'm here with Mike. We're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And today we're bringing you issue 27 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. This issue came with Stormsire's Cursebreakers for the Stormcast Eternals, 3 models that are originally a warband for the Warhammer Underworlds game. As always, if you want to skip straight ahead to the battle report, there is a time code in the description. But we'll have a look inside the issue. First up, we have the background for Stormsire's Cursebreakers. Averon Stormsire himself, the leader, is a knight incantor, and he's accompanied by Amis Dawnguard and Rastus the Charmed, who are 2 evocator primes from the Hammers of Sigmar Stormhost. Stormsire has great knowledge of the process of reforging of Stormcast, and he is on a quest to try and correct the errors that occur in reforging. His mission has brought him to the city of Shadespire, searching for a way to break the curse that lies over the city in the hope that it will help fix the reforging process. And there's just a little bit about each of the warriors themselves over the page. Then we have information on the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who are the elite of Nagash's legions. Effectively, they are constructs of bone, skeletal warriors, and larger creations. Unlike most of Nagash's minions, who are essentially enslaved to his will, the Bone Reapers are all cunning warriors capable of independent thought. Each Bone Reaper is actually powered by the fusion of different souls from a variety of beings in order to make them into deadly warriors. And they are led by Orpheon Catacross, the Mortarch of the Necropolis, as you see in the middle there, who is a military genius. Then we have some background on the mortal realms themselves. They exist within the etheric void, or known as the Great Nothing, which is a background magic field, effectively, of unaligned magic, whereas the mortal realms themselves are formed, each from a specific kind of magic. And it also explains how they are connected by realm gates, but a lot of these have been corrupted by the forces of chaos. Then we have the build guide for Stormsire's Cursebreakers. These are all push-fit, easy-to-build miniatures, although you can use glue if you want.
I probably would actually recommend using glue to glue the head in. You kind of put the head and arms in the back piece and then push the front on. It's probably worth actually gluing the arms and the head in place so they don't just fall out while you're trying to push the front in. And
then we paint them. This is the same as we've had for all of the Stormcast so far, but with the addition of Agrax Earthshade, which we got recently. Paint the whole model with gold, and then shade in the dry brush, and then we've got blue and red and white areas. And Rakoth Flesh for the front of their tabards, and then we shade both the red and the Rakoth Flesh areas with Agrax Earthshade, which gives them a bit of depth. Finally, we have the finished models, as you can see there, ready for some future steps to improve them. But that's all for this issue, so we'll head into our battle now.
So as usual, we need to learn about our new models before we can use them in our games. So first up we have the War Skull for Averon Stormsire, and he's basically a Knight Incantor. The only real difference is that he has the Stormsire spell instead of Spirit Storm, and it basically works the same as Spirit Storm, except it does D3 mortal wounds instead of 1 if the enemy unit is within 6 inches of him when he casts the spell, instead of 1, otherwise it's exactly the same. And we also have Stormsire's Cursebreakers, and they're essentially a pair of Evocator Primes, so exactly the same 5 attacks Evocator Prime has. The only real difference is that they get +1 to hit against Chaos and Death units. Otherwise they're the same 3 wounds, 4+ save, they're the same Celestial Lightning ability, but luckily there are 2 of them, so they can actually use their Empower spell in this game, so hopefully we'll get to see that. And over on the next page you can see examples of these rules. The only really relevant one is probably going to be the Stormsire spell there. We've also got a updated War Scroll for the Nightvault Banshees, because it's been a really long time since we've seen them. I think the only things to note really are that they're Bravery 10, I don't think we knew about that last time, and they have this ability Spell Eaters, which allows them to attempt to unbind a spell if they're within 18 inches of the wizard casting the spell. And if they do successfully unbind the spell, they get +1 attacks to all their chill daggers until the next enemy hero phase. And they also get +1 to the unbinding roll for every 4 models in the unit. It also mentions here they can also unbind endless spells, but we haven't learned about them yet, and I'm not sure you actually get any with the collection, so that probably won't be relevant. And once again we get a tutorial on the new abilities for the Nightvault Banshees. So now we can finally have a look at our battle plan for this issue. So the Stormcast Eternals have managed to take over Hallowstone Hold, and now they need to scour the immediate area of the Nightvault so they can link up with the Sylvaneth forces that are starting to rise up. We're on to our battle plan, hunting the Nighthaunt. We set up the board as usual. And in this game we have a Dreadblade Harrow, 4 Miremore Banshees, the Briar Queen, the Thorns of the Briar Queen and 10 Dreadscythe Harridans, facing off against Stormsire and his 2 Cursebreakers and 5 Secretors. We alternate deployment, starting with the Nighthaunt player, and the Nighthaunt player gets the first turn in the first battle round, and as usual we keep going until one player has no models left. So I'll just come back after we've deployed and get right into the game. So here we are deployed, and we've got our ruins set up in the middle. And we'll have a look at the Stormcast first.
Yes, so we've got the 5 Secretors out the front. Behind them are the Cursebreakers, and then we've got Stormsire himself out on the flank.
And on the Nighthaunt side I've got the 10 Dreadscythe Harridans, the Dreadblade Harrow, the Thorns of the Briar Queen with the Briar Queen herself standing behind, and the Miremore Banshees over on the left. And the Nighthaunt get to go first, so we'll head straight into the Nighthaunt turn. So in the hero phase I'll gain a command point, and I'm not going to bother casting any spells because any of my offensive spells are going to be out of range, and there are no ranged attackers on the Stormcast side, so Mystic Shield's probably a bit pointless as well. In my movement phase, everyone's just going to run. So I'll just roll all these in a row. So I'll start with the Harridans, they get to go an extra 1. The Dreadblade gets to go an extra 5. The Thorns an extra 6. The Briar Queen an extra 2. And the Banshees an extra 3. Fairly simply, we're all just going to move up so that we're just over 18 inches away so we don't get zapped by Stormsire. As you can see, the Harridans are coming up. The Dreadblade, the Briar Queen and her Thorns, and then the Miremore Banshees. That'll be it for my turn, on to the Stormcast turn.
So into my hero phase, I'll gain a command point, and I might as well cast some spells because there's no downside to doing so. So we'll start with Stormsire. He's going to try and cast Mystic Shield, needing a 6, getting an 11.
Yeah, I'm not going to bother trying to unbind that.
He'll put that on himself. And the Cursebreakers might as well try and cast Empower, also needing a 6, getting a 6.
I might as well try and unbind that with the Briar Queen because she is in range. Needing a 7, only getting a 4, so that is successfully cast.
And I'm going to put that on the Secretors.
Yeah, so until the next Stormcast hero phase, the Secretors can reroll all failed wounds.
Then in my movement phase, Stormsire has moved up a tiny little bit and out this way, so he's within 18 inches of all the Nighthaunt except for the Briar Queen. So if I get to go first in the next battle round, they will all be in range of my Stormsire spell. Secretors have moved forward a smidge, and the Cursebreakers have moved back to basically make sure that if the Briar Queen uses her Howling Vortex, she can't get them with it. But I think that'll be my turn, because there's no shooting or charging.
Yep, and that'll be the end of the battle round. Rolling off for the second battle round, I've got a 2.
Oh, 1.
And I'm going to go first, I think. So in my hero phase, I gain a command point, and I'm going to have the Briar Queen cast Mystic Shield, or try to at least. Needing a 6, getting an 11.
I might as well try and unbind that with Stormsire, because he's in range. Needing a 12 now.
I'm going to put that on the Dreadscythe Harridans. In my movement phase, everyone's just going to move up normally. The Dreadblade moving his max distance to get as close to Stormsire as possible, and the Harridans will also be in range to charge things. The Briar Queen's going to be out of range for her scream, so we'll skip the shooting phase and on to the charge phase. So I'm going to start the charge phase off with the Dreadblade Harrow. So he needs at least a 5 to get in range of Stormsire. If he gets a 7, that's enough. Easy enough to get him into range of Stormsire and stay out 3 inches of the Secretors. Then the Dreadscythe Harridans are going to charge. It is going to need to be quite a long charge though. Needs to be at least a 9, getting a 7. Might as well re-roll that because they are within range of the Briar Queens. Re-roll, getting a 7 again. So not going to declare any more charges and it'll be on to the combat phase.
At the start of the combat phase I could shatter 1 or more of his Spirit Flasks, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to hurt myself or indeed my Secretors.
Yeah, and the Dreadblade's not going to pile in, so he gets to attack Stormsire. So we've got 3 attacks from the Dreadblade itself, hitting on 3s, getting 3 hits, wounding on 3s, getting 1.
He has a 3+ save base, Ren -1, so 4+, but rerolling 1s because of Mystic Shield. Not 4, so it's fine.
Right. And then we got 2 attacks from the horse, hitting on 4s, and then wounding on 5s. Oh, there's a wound!
3+ save, rerolling 1s. Oh, he's alright. And Stormsire gets to hit back. 3 attacks hitting on 3s, didn't catch on camera, but it's 2 hits. And then wounding on 3s. They both wounded.
4+ save for a Dreadblade, made 1, failed 1.
And D3 damage. 3.
So the Dreadblade's down to 2. That will be the end of my turn, on to the Stormcast turn.
In the hero phase I gain a command point, and we're going to try and cast Stormsire's Stormsire spell. The casting value of 7, getting an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to try and unbind with the Miremorn Banshees because they get +1. So I need to roll an 8. Nope. So that goes off. So it will do D3 damage to the Dreadblade Harrow, and then I think everything else will take a mortal wound.
Yeah, everything's within 18 and the Dreadblade is within 6, so D3, so 2 to him.
So the Dreadblade will die, a Miremorn Banshee will die, a Thorn will die, the Briar Queen goes down to 4 wounds, and the Harridan will die.
And the Evocators can also cast Empower, so I might as well try that. Needing a 6 for this. Getting a 10.
Yeah, might as well try and bind with the Briar Queen, needing an 11, getting a 5, so that goes off.
And we'll put that on the Secretors.
Yep.
Moving up, everybody just moved forward there 5 inches, so we'll be on to the charge phase and we'll start with the Secretors. Needing probably a 4, getting a 5, that will probably be enough, so we'll keep that. The Secretors will come here, getting within half an inch, but I'm staying in this sort of compact formation, partly because of what Stormsire is about to do. You'll probably figure that out. Also so we can potentially get the Evocators in the other side, and then I've got my pile-in move to wrap in when necessary. So, and then we'll charge with Stormsire. He needs a slightly higher roll, see what we get. Oh, no, I think that's loads.
Yeah.
Stormsire will come in there, where he is within 3 inches of all of the Nighthaunt units, including the Briar Queen. He's also outside of 3 inches of the Secretors. And then we'll charge with the 2 Cursebreakers as well. They also need a slightly bigger roll. They got a 6, I don't think that's going to be enough. No, that's not enough, and they're obviously not near Stormsire to be able to re-roll that, so that is that, and we'll be on to the fight phase. Stormsire will shatter all 3 of his Spirit Flasks, which is going to do 3 mortal wounds to himself and everything else within 3 inches.
Yep, so it's all the Miremorn Banshees dead. 1, 2, 3 Thorns. The Briar Queen goes down to 1 wound. And 3 Harridans.
Yeah, and of course Stormsire also goes down to 2. And also at the start of the fight phase, the Secretors will declare power to weapons.
So they can reroll all their failed misses.
I'm going to pick the Secretors to fight first because the Harridan's return attacks could be quite nasty if they get to hit. So we will pile everybody in, and then about 3 inches is enough to get everybody within an inch. Start with the Great Maces. We've got 4 attacks. A hit on 3s, re-rolling misses because of power to weapons. So we'll re-roll that 2 into a 4, so 4 hits. Wounding on 3s and re-rolling fails because they are under Empower still from the Cursebreakers. So we'll re-roll that 1. Nope, into a 2, so 3 wounds.
Make some of these, all the Harridans are going to be wiped out. 4+ saves, rerolling 1s because we've got Mystic Shield. Or we can reroll that 1. Ooh, made 2, so only 2 Harridans die.
And then we've got all the normal Stormsmite Maces on 3s, and re-rolling fails. 6 hits. And wounding on 3s, re-rolling fails. Re-roll that 1. 6 wounds.
6 4+ saves, rerolling 1s. Failed 5. So there's actually 7 damage in total, so the Harridans are wiped out. I get to pick next. I'm going to pick the Briar Queen, and she's not going to move because she's got a 3-inch range on her Briar Whip. So we've got 1 attack hitting on a 3. It hits. Wounds on a 3. It wounds. Rends -2.
So 5+ for his save. Oh, no, failed.
D3 damage. 1.
And Stormsire gets to go, and he's not in base contact with this Thorn, so he'll pile in round it, but in doing so get himself within an inch of the Briar Queen.
He's got a 2-inch range on his melee weapon.
Oh, he has, that's a fair point. But so he's going to hit the Briar Queen. Yeah, so he attacks hit on 3s. 1. And wounds on 3. And I did.
4+ save. Failed. So the Briar Queen dies. And the Thorns can try and avenge their queen. So we've got Varclav the Cruel there, so we get an extra attack. So we have 5 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 2. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, because there's more than 1 Thorn in range. We got a wound.
3+ save. No, he's alright.
And that's the end of the battle round, but I'm just going to call the game there because I don't think the 2 Thorns... Oh, actually, we'll roll off, and if I go first, I'll see if the Thorns can kill him. What's his face? So, rolling off the battle round.
Oh, I got to go first.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I will probably just kill them with magic powers or something and then hit them first in the fight phase.
Yeah, I'm just going to concede then. So that'll be a Stormcast victory. We'll recap this game for you now. So that was the game for issue 27 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms. How did you think that went?
Well, I don't think it could have gone much better, to be honest. I think you did 1 wound to me. I did more wounds to myself than you did. Basically, a quick synopsis would be your Dreadblade didn't do very well, the Harridans failed their charge, and I walked in and
blew everything
well. Yeah. The Spirit Flask ability, I think, is really good. It has some weaknesses, like if I don't want to do it near my own troops, I don't want to do it. And if you damage me first, I'm unlikely to do it because he's going to kill himself. Or at least I might not be able to use so many of the flasks all at once because he can do up to 3. But if he's on full wounds and he can charge into a lot large blob of enemies like that. I think the value gained from that is much greater than the value lost from his wounds, if you like. So
yeah, also, the fact that you can do it at the start of the combat phase as well, so it's really easy to not have your stuff be in range. Even if it was like you were going to get steamrolled by something, you could just do it anyway. You would do the maximum explosion before he goes down, even if you guarantee that he's going to die. I suppose I should have spread out a bit, but even then I don't think you'd have too much issue dealing with all the Harridans, even if they charged. The Cursebreakers I don't think would have much trouble with the Harridans either, because they've got 10 attacks hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, so plus some mortal wounds potentially.
Well, I deliberately kept the Evocators behind the Sequitors for exactly that reason, hoping the Sequitors would be able to survive with at least something left, and then the Evocators could countercharge, and especially if they power themselves.
And the Thorns don't really do very much. Mindmore Banshees really aren't very hard to deal with either.
No, if they manage to unbind a spell, they get more powerful, but the fact that there are only 4 of them, they're not really a frontline combat unit.
They only have 1 wound each.
Yeah.
The Briar Queen, I guess it's a dangerous range attack, but it probably can't really do enough damage quickly enough to disrupt you. Maybe it would have been better to hold back and cast spells, but even Howling Vortex takes 2 turns to actually kill any of your models, and you can always unbind them.
I guess the fact that it reduces my movement speed means you could, in theory, sit back and use that.
But even then, if the Harridans whiff or the Dreadblade whiffs, they're just going to get killed, and then it's not going to matter that much. Yeah. And you can also cast spells, and your spell damages everything once you're within 18, which is quite easy to get on. This, you basically just stand in the middle and hit the entire board with it. So.
I guess it's worth talking about the fact that Stormsire is essentially a Knight Incantor with a slightly better version of the spell. Yeah. Like even if I didn't have the Spirit Flask, where he got himself in that turn, if he'd been alive, he could have then D3 mortal wounds to everything within 6 inches with the spell. It's still a pretty powerful ability.
But he is legally distinct from a Knight Incantor.
And you do have to bring him with the Cursebreakers, who themselves are pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, you actually got to see him power. Funnily enough, it's quite good.
Well, the number of attacks, but also the fact they hit on 2s against death units. And then they've got their mortal wounds as well, which is going to be 4 dice on 4 pluses.
Yeah, and considering how much Nightvault stuff only has 1 wound. Talking about the models, they certainly look cool. I mean, the 2 Evocators are basically just Evocator primes, and if you put them next to an actual unit of Evocators, you probably couldn't tell the difference. Well, maybe I have to examine them more closely, because I guess the Thorns at least have some distinct features on their molds, or at least have their moulded bases. I suppose that sets them apart. They are pushed together, but I actually found particularly the 2 Evocators didn't go together particularly well. I did end up having to fill in like the shoulder pad around the female one's left shoulder. I think there was a huge gap that I had to actually fill with Millipart in the end. I think Stormsire as well, I had to fill in a bit there. So for pushed together molds, I think they actually went together quite poorly. And
of course, as I said at the beginning, they are actually the counterparts to the Thorns of the Briar Queen from the Underworlds Nightvault starter box set. There was actually 2 editions of Underworlds ago, so I don't think the box is available anymore. So I think you can only get these models separately now. You can't get them with the...
Yeah, it's a bit weird with all the old warbands. Not sure whether you can actually play them in Underworlds either. Well, I think that's it for this little discussion about this game and this issue. So if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments. If you want to help me play Nightvault, that would be quite handy. Maybe I'm just playing them in the wrong way. Well, I'd like to know. Otherwise, we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.